morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, whatever and wherever you're coming from. I'm Heather Clark, your declutter expert and your host today. And today's topic is, as I always say, what the topic is to begin with. So obviously, heal through decluttering, coping with trauma one step at a time. And this is a doozy. This is one in which it is obviously trauma. Big word. Even the word itself has a lot of meaning to it. And it can mean totally different things for every single person. It can mean something small that happened that has just been repetitive throughout your lifetime, that each time it's a traumatic experience. Trauma can be something massive that you've gone through, that you're trying to build a new life for yourself, but you've got the old version, you've got the new version, you've got the I have no idea what's going on version. And do you need tissues today? I don't know. It depends. Depends on you, depends on me, depends on how everything's going to go. But with the trauma and with decluttering, and how do we declutter through going through trauma, or we've been through trauma and these items or these things or these whatever bring up those motions again and bring up the traumatic experience that we experienced at the time, is massive. And I wanted to make it its own topic, its own show, because of the fact that it is huge. And there is nothing light about it. There is nothing light about having a traumatic experience. There's nothing light about being traumatized by something, someone, an item, an emotion, a time in your life, whether you were a child, a teen, a baby, an adult, whatever. It is not a light topic. This is why I wanted to make it its own show. So one of the things is, why does decluttering work at all? Oh, before I answer that, I always wonder if I should wait to declutter for the pain of the trauma to pass, or to go ahead and work through it. So excited to listen today. Yes. Okay, so let's actually talk, before I go into why decluttering works and stuff, let's talk about that. When we go through these traumatic experiences and when we're decluttering, the stuff that I've talked about in previous episodes of, okay, set a timer for 45 minutes today, I'm not saying and suggesting you to do it that way. With decluttering through trauma, and I usually say, do it when you're ready. Whether that means you're still in the midst of it and you're still trying to figure out whatever, and you just need to clear out a little bit just to get a sense of that control. Because when we're going through that traumatic experience, we feel like we have no control because this happened to us, this whatever, etc. Like, there's just such a strong sense of, when you're decluttering, you're giving yourself the clarity, you're giving yourself that part of you back that you feel has been lost in that traumatic experience. So I say, first and foremost, do it when you're ready. And that could mean doing only 15 minutes. Cool, I just need to do 15 minutes because right now I'm about to punch a wall. I just need to clear something out, to clear this energy out, whatever. Okay? Or if it's one of the things, I'm kind of skipping down to my other steps, but one of the things I do too is scream into a pillow. Do you know what that does? That clears out and declutters that emotional side of you. I have done that. I have taught my daughter that. I've tried to teach my son. He's gone he's got a punch bag now. But during the actual, in the moment, in the areas of actually feeling and experience that, you want to clear out some of those emotions. You want to clear out that feeling, that emotional state that you're in right now, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness, whatever. And I've taught my kid, go scream into a pillow, because that screaming into a pillow absolutely releases a bit of that. It was a quick thing. I didn't tell her to keep doing that and then she had to meditate. I was just a quick scream into the pillow and go on with what you were doing, just because it was bottling up in her. And that's what with the trauma, it's a bottling up of everything. So we have to have those quick releases. And it's only when you're ready, or when you want to scream into a pillow. Yes, it is very difficult to do a declutter after traumatic death. So on that, it is, so with a traumatic death or even a death in the family or any kind of thing, and you're having to declutter the other person's stuff, whoo, man, talk about emotions and mental stuff that comes out of that. I absolutely agree that it is not easy to do that. It is not easy, whether it's somebody that's actually been in your own home and it's been a passing of that or anything. Those things are absolutely going to shake your world. A lot of the times, the reason why is because when you find things that you remember from your own experience with this person, from whether it's, let's say it's a parent. We're going to use the parent as an example. So a traumatic death in the family, it was a parent, unexpected, completely unexpected. You now have to go through their stuff. You have to clear it out because chances are you may have to sell the home, or B, you just need to clear that out because, it's something that, obviously it was a cluttered space or anything like that. That area is going to cause memories from probably your childhood. There are things that I have heard that people have found secrets that this person has held on to their entire life. That in itself becomes a traumatic experience for those who are left over having to clear out and declutter that area. And it's overwhelming because first of all, especially if you're somebody who does keep your place neat and tidy, and you go into your parents' place where it isn't neat and tidy and it wasn't kept, the way that you would have. So that alone is stressful for you. Plus you're trying to deal with the person passed. Like that was somebody that was, near and dear to you and they passed. And so now you're trying to clear it out, go on top of this. This has to be done at a certain time. This has to be whatever, etc. And so it's so much. And this is why I absolutely say don't wait until after you've dealt with the trauma and after you've dealt with it, because sometimes you can't. Sometimes, like with somebody who's been passing and you have to sell the home, you have to do this, there is a time limit. And this is where one of my points is get the professional help, because somebody who's going to help you through that, whether it's professional help for the actual decluttering part or it's professional help to deal with the traumatic, the grief, everything from that loss. Either way, get yourself and your family members or anyone involved, whether it's a group session. That's also something that can be done as a group session. I know dealing with grief and stuff like that, they definitely have group programs and stuff like that to be able to deal with that, because that is a lot to deal with. And when there's a time limit, that makes it even more stressful. And it absolutely can not only cause chaos in your own mind, but it can cause chaos in the relationships with those who are left over, who, let's say you have siblings, you have this parent had grandchildren, all that could cause a lot of chaos for them as well, which could also in turn make this experience a traumatic experience for them. So we want to try and avoid that by allowing those professionals to come in and understand the dynamics and understand that, yes, okay, I get it. This is where you are. I don't know, I'm not obviously trauma expert whatsoever. And I'm, dealing with the grief and stuff like that. That is a whole other topic that obviously I'm not licensed in. And I say that right here, right now. I'm not the person to go to for those things. However, the decluttering thing, I absolutely know. I know the steps that we can take. I know the steps that can be, the 15-minute spurts that we can do. I know what can be done in 15, 20 minutes. I know that the Pomodoro session, I know how to keep things on track, because sometimes that's just what you need, is just somebody to keep you on track. It's like, listen, we're going to deal with that in a bit. Okay, here's a section that we're going to put all this stuff that we need more time to actually deal with. We will put this in here. We'll put in containers. We will remove it out of the house so that we can sell this house and all that stuff. And we will take a time later on in life to be able to deal with this box, this bin, this area, this section. Yeah. And when sounds like decluttering can create another level to trauma, so we should be prepared for that, possibly, yes. So, and that's the thing, so as I've mentioned in many, many episodes before, when we were talking about the mind, when we were talking about the body, and we were talking about the soul, when we get to the physical stuff, which is usually what happens, during trauma. Like we want to clear out the physical stuff because let's say it's even a divorce, you're now having to clear out the ex's stuff and everything like that. So the physical stuff will bring up that mental, that emotional, that spiritual stuff that will come through. So yes, absolutely. Decluttering can cause, again, the trauma to re-engage, we will remember those moments. We will remember by just even physically touching something that has been hidden in the back of a closet and physically touching that, and then all of a sudden seeing it and knowing exactly, because we don't have an item because of the item. We carry an item because of the emotional attachment that we put towards that item. So when you take that thing out of the back of the closet and you hold it in your hand, and then all of a sudden those emotions are going to come through. And that, was a time that you wish you could go back to, or you wish that, you weren't separated from this person, all that stuff. Like that in itself could absolutely, and this is why I'm saying, have that professional for the trauma part, for the going through these things, have a therapist that, if you are going through that divorce or that separation or the passing of your partner or the passing of your parent or anything like that, and make sure that you tell them of these things, that this item, I grabbed this item, I haven't looked at this item in years. The moment I went to go remove it out of my closet, all of these emotions came pouring through, because that in itself is allowing you to clear out, while going through trauma, clearing out the things and understanding, what does this mean? Again, with a professional. And then when you come to the decluttering part, is knowing, okay, I have half an hour. What can I get done in half an hour? I know I'm in a good spirit right now. I'm prepared already. And prepare yourself, knowing, I know I'm going through this time in my life right now. I know this is traumatic, but I need to get my desk organized. I need to do the dishes in the sink. I'm going to give myself that half hour to get it done. If I need to call anyone else in the home, cool. They're going to be coming here and they're going to help me as well. And we're going to do this for half an hour. We got half an hour done. You only can do it for 15 minutes? Fine, do it for 15 minutes. The point of it is yes, do it while you have that space, the mental space, the emotional space, to be able to understand that, yes, this stuff comes up. This stuff will come up. The trauma will probably resurface. You'll probably pull out a picture and start crying your eyes out because it reminds you of a time when this person was alive and this was like a fun time that you had with them, etc. Take that moment, appreciate the time that they had, that you had with them, thank the picture for, showing up when it did, and understand that you can put it aside for now. You're not saying, I don't want to deal with you. You're just saying, I thank you, I appreciate you, but right now I have to get this done. I will revisit you when I'm better in a mental space and emotional space. And that's okay. And understanding that when you do that, you're not saying no to yourself. You're not saying no to the person. You're not saying no to the actions. You're just saying, I'm not ready right now. When I am ready, that could be a month from now. It could be next week. It could be 6 months to a year from now before you go to that container I was talking about earlier that you're going to put all those things in. It can be a year from now. And that is okay. Trauma has no time limit. Decluttering has no time limit. We are always going to be constantly decluttering, and we are always constantly be going and revisiting these things. On the other side, I love the idea of asking our loved ones who are dealing with trauma if they need support in decluttering. Sometimes they don't have the strength to ask. Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. So if you know that this just happened and you have a support area or a support group that you can actually go to and say, listen, I know I can't do this on my own, but I also know I'm not the type of person right now that I'm going to even have the strength to ask for your help. Can you just check in on me? Can you just check on me knowing that this is the job I have to get done? And this is something that has to get done because of A, B, and C. The house has to get sold. The stuff needs to get out because, like I said, if it's a separation, a divorce, whatever, the stuff has to get out by a certain time. Everything has to, whatever. Get your support group and make sure, this is one of my points, making sure the community and the support that you do have is a support not just based on your decluttering journey, but based on your trauma journey. Because those two are huge. Because if you have people in your life that continue to feed into the trauma and continue to cause the trauma, those aren't the people we're asking to help. Those are the people that we're going to actually declutter for a moment so that we can get the stuff done, so that we can know that while we're doing this, while we are hyper focused on this job because it has to get done because I got a timeline for this, those people that were the cause of the trauma or that in the past they've caused things to be a little more chaotic than they needed to be, we're not going to call on those people. I don't care if they're family. I don't care if they're, friends, this, that, whatever that you consider. You want the people, especially when you're going through that traumatic experience, especially when you're, going through those emotions and the mental spot. I'm tripping over my own words. You want those people there to actually be there to support you, not to cause more trauma. End of story. If those people are going to cause you more mental and emotional grief, do not have them around you during that time. Do not even dare say, listen, can you help me? I know we've had our differences in our past and blah, 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 etc. But I know I need this help. Because that person's probably going to come in. And then later on, it's again going to cause that more trauma. And then it's going to again cause you to say, I knew I shouldn't have done that. And you're going to should all over yourself. I shouldn't have called them. I shouldn't have asked them for this. They just made it worse. And it's going to cause more emotional and mental clutter for yourself to begin with. So find people who are your people, who have been there for you, and find the community and find the professional help to be able to actually help you through. Because as I said, when you clear out the physical, that emotional and the mental stuff is going to be there. Okay, how do you feel about boxing things up to declutter for later if seeing the things are adding to the trauma? If you do set a date and revisit, or how do you deal with that? Okay, so I was actually talking about that earlier when it was the containers and stuff like that. So if you're, let's say, we're going to go back to this, it was a traumatic death in the family, you now have to clear out that house. You're now realizing that there's stuff that they have that you're like, okay, it's paperwork. You have to deal with that paperwork. It's their stuff. You got to figure out, okay, is this something that we have to deal with the taxes, with this, whatever? Do they have bonds? Do they have anything? Whatever it is. You're going to take all that stuff. And I said, yes, you're going to get a container and you're going to put it in there. You're going to make sure that you label that container because you want to know what's always in that container. You don't want to not know what's in that container and then just toss the container and, you were supposed to deal with that stuff. So yes, I do absolutely recommend. What I also actually just came to my brain right now is put a container that is things that need to be dealt with at a certain time. So like we're talking the taxes, the finances, anything of this person that passed on. We're again going back to that example. So anything that needs to happen in the next month, even I'm going to say like week or month, within that month, you're going to put in the one container because those are things that probably need for a death certificate. You're probably going to need, if there's a marriage certificate in there, if there's any bonds, any money, all that financial stuff that's from that person, you're going to need to have that at a grasp, and you're going to want to put all those things in one area. Another container or other containers, you're going to want to put the stuff that is, let's say, photo albums, let's say other things that you're going to have to talk with other family members and share amongst them, because these are the things that people had said, or things that, I don't know, even if like the furniture and all that stuff too, those are things that you're going to have to deal with, because especially if you have to sell that house, you're going to need to deal with that. So you're going to have to make a list, do an entire list of what items and who's taking what. And from there, you have this date to remove it. And if it's not, we're giving it away, we're putting it at the end of the driveway, we're doing all that stuff. Because if you don't put these dates to things, we will put it off forever. Family members will be like, oh, well, I can't come up until this time. I can't do it until that time. It's like, well, listen, the longer you take, the longer it's going to take to sell this house. And the longer that burden is going to be on me or my family or us or whoever is dealing with the house sale or anything like that. But yes, I definitely do recommend putting stuff that is absolutely needing to be dealt with sooner than later in one container. The stuff that you can process and do and understand later, put it in totally different containers. But absolutely, and even if you want to put that the very first container of things that you absolutely have to do, put it in a nice big red bin so that it's red, like it's urgent. Like we all know, like stop, red, urgent, all that stuff. So put it in that with a label saying urgent, must deal with by this date. So give yourself again a date, because guess what? Guess what happens when you're going through trauma? Time doesn't exist. 5 minutes could actually be 5 hours. 5 hours can feel like it just, time does not exist. A day you're looking and you're like, oh, that was just yesterday. And then you realize, oh, wait, no, that was last week. Holy crap. And it's such a crazy, weird feeling of anyone, because majority of us, if I'm pretty much going to say a lot of us, have actually gone through traumatic experiences of some sort, whether it is someone passing, whether it is anything. And it's such an odd feeling to know how time is so weird at that time. So this is why I'm saying put dates on things of when you want, like that big thing that you have to get done by this date. Because if you say, oh, we'll deal with it next week, well, when did you originally put that? When did you originally, like, whatever, put an actual, like, okay, so today is September 20th. So we need to deal with it by September 31st of 2022. Put that right on the bin. So you, big letters, so that you know that that bin has to be. And if somebody else is, moving that bin, being like, hey, it's September 30th and this has a due date of tomorrow. I guess we should deal with that now. Because again, while you're going through all that stuff, you have to talk to the realtor, you have to do this, you have to deal with this death certificate, you have to deal with the banking, all of these things, and all of this stuff is just going to combine and make it into the fact of one day turns into a week, and a week later you're like, oh crap. So yes, I absolutely do suggest the different containers. I was so rushed in going through my grandparents' things. I feel like I created trauma for me. Like I needed more when it comes to decluttering. Okay. I gotta reread that again. Okay. I was so rushed into going through my grandmother's thing. Sorry. I feel like that created trauma for me. Like I needed more when it came to decluttering. So like, what do you mean you needed more when it came to decluttering? Like you needed more of the stuff from your grandmother? Or you just needed more assistance, or you needed more support while you were going through your grandmother's things? I'm going to wait for that answer. So another thing too, while you are decluttering, I'm going to put this point in, is creating a safe space for yourself. Oh, before I go to that. Oh, just a joke. Okay. Like I needed more trauma surrounding decluttering. Oh yeah, no, you don't need more trauma. But again, as we are decluttering, as I said earlier, it will bring up those mental and emotional things, and it may be from a traumatic experience. So back to the creating a safe space. So while you're decluttering and while you're going through the trauma, create that absolute safe space for yourself. And the safe space can just be a simple chair like what I have here, where I know the moment I come into this chair, I can close my eyes, it's quiet, I'm surrounded by my plants because I love my plants, all that stuff. Like it is just a space for you that you can say, I just need that 5 minutes of my safe space, because I need to just ground myself again. I need to regain control out of these emotions, these thoughts, these whatever. so that I can center myself again and continue on decluttering. And again, the safe space could be like my daughter. She has her pillow that is very soundproof, and it won't do red alarms for my neighbors when they hear a young child's voice screaming at the top of their lungs. So it is a very, very fluffy pillow. It is very dense, and like fluffy and dense at the same time. I know it sounds weird, but it is. And it is the one pillow that she has, and she has it in the corner, and she knows if I need to, I can go straight to that corner. That is my safe space. I can grab that pillow and I can scream at the top of my lungs, and I'm good. And when I'm done that, if I need to do another one, I'll do another one. If I'm done and I feel that that cleared that out for now so I can continue to move on to whatever I was doing, by all means. But create yourself that safe space, whether it's in your bedroom, whether it's in your living room, your kitchen, heck, if it's even in your bathroom, that you literally just close the door. Everyone knows that's in that area or then that space, that when that door is closed, whatever, and you light the candle or you have music playing or whatever you need to do for that safe space. It is yours, and it is your personal space, and it is yours to tell other people that when I'm here and I'm doing this, please let me be, because I just need that 5-minute break. Maybe it's not even 5 minutes. Maybe like with my daughter, it's just that 1 or 2 screams, and that's it. And then it just moves on to the next thing, and we just continue going. But it's clearing out that stuff and centering yourself back to, okay, I know this has to get done. I cannot procrastinate on this. I don't have a choice. We have to go through these items. We have to go through this. But I need to take that break. I go to my safe space. And again, whether it's even in that house, you go to your car even, because I had to drive to that house to go clear all that stuff. You go into your car and you're just like, put the music on, put whatever, YouTube frequencies, however you put yourself back into that centered spot so you can go back into decluttering the stuff that needs to get done. Because again, when it's something like, a traumatic death in the family and you have to go through the stuff, there is no, oh, I can wait 5 years to do this. I can wait 20 years to do this. No, chances are you have to sell that house, you have to sell those items, or you have to at least find a spot for those items. And it has to be done. And you have to do it again while you're going through the traumatic experience of losing that person. And that's hard. And that's why, again, one of my main points is seek professional help. Seek somebody that has expertise in the traumatic experience that you're going through. Whether it is abuse, whether it is a death, whether it is substance abuse, even, whether any of those things, find somebody, because somebody is an expert in that area that has not only researched and spent their lives researching and understanding, they've done it with multiple people and been able to get them through. And make sure that you do your research on them too, because again, and I know this is adding to the whole collection of things to do while you're going through this episode, but it needs to be done. Because if you're saying like, I just can't handle this, and you're about to have like an absolute meltdown, that's when we need that professional help. That's when we need, and it could be just that one time that, while you're going through this, that you talk to them, or it's a group or whatever. But they've done it, they researched it, they studied it, they know their stuff. So please, and do not feel shame or embarrassed that you have to reach out. Please, I implore you to never feel shame and embarrassment because you realize I need to reach out to a professional, to therapists, to whatever, because that person is there. Their job is to help you through this, and there is nothing to be ashamed about. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. You are going through a traumatic experience, and I promise you, you're not the only one that's gone through a traumatic experience. So this is something that we all, at some point in our lives, have dealt with, will deal with, etc. Maybe it's not the exact same way you are having to deal with it, or the exact same thing that you've had to deal with, but it's still, and a trauma doesn't have to be so huge either. That's the other thing too. People don't understand is it could just be the same thing constantly. We have the constant, being berated by somebody, and it causes us trauma in the sense of that's our self-worth. We have, a parent that constantly belittled us over and over and over and over again. That in itself is a traumatic experience. So if that's the parent that actually passes the traumatic, whatever, that alone is going to cause crazy emotional and mental stuff as it is. So even having to go through that parent stuff, that was the parent that caused all of your own personal stuff, that in itself is where you absolutely need your support group around you. You absolutely need to reach out to that expert that is, okay, listen, I have to do this. This is the person that caused the trauma for me. I finally was able to get to a point in my life and now I'm having to relive that. How do I go through that? How do I clear out their stuff while they're the reason why I had to go through therapy while in my 20s or 30s or, as a kid or whatever? Those, again, are things that those experts will help you. Your support group will help you. You don't have to tell your support group all the details. Just say, listen, I just need you to be here to keep me on track. I need you to be here that if I'm going to need a hug, that you're that person that I need to hug. I need you to be there to bring garbage bags even, because I forgot them. I need you to go pick me up containers. However that support area is, or if you also need to get them, like I said, get them to say, hey, do you need garbage bags? Hey, do you need those containers? Because you are not going to remember to reach out to them. You are not even going to remember that a day has passed. Find those people that you can say, hey, I'm not going to know what day it is, let alone what time, let alone what year, let alone what it may. I may not even remember what my name is. So I'm going to need you to contact me or to just bring the things you think I need. Because heck, who can't use garbage bags? Heck, containers. If you don't use them, give them away to somebody else. These are things that, again, you want to kind of just give yourself that time at the beginning just to sit down, write, this is what I need, and then move on, and then next step, and you're going to have that support group to keep you on track. So that, I guess, is basically it for this one. And I wanted to make it its own thing, but I didn't want to go too far because, again, decluttering in itself is stressful, is going to cause the mental and emotional stuff to come out. And sometimes those mental and emotional are those things that are traumatic. And biggest thing I say is have that support group, seek the professional help, have that personal space that you can go to in that spot. And if you can only do 15 to 20 minute spurts at a time, cool. Then you do those 15 minutes spurts at a time. Taking that stuff that has to be dealt with now into one container, label it with a date that you have to deal with it by, and the rest can go in other containers. And when you are ready again, whether it's next week, next month, or next year, or heck, it's even, I've had clients where it's been, the one client, I think it was 2 years after her mom's passing, we finally went through her clothing and stuff like that and finally cleared it out because the father, who was still there and still used all that space, he was finally ready to let it go. Trauma has no time limit. Decluttering has no time limit. These things can happen, can resurface again and again. And decluttering is something I have said multiple episodes. That is something we're going to have to continue to do over and over again. But decluttering through trauma absolutely is a massive undertake. And that's why I'm saying get that support, get the experts, because they're there to support you through the time, but also to keep you on track. So that is all I have for today. If there's any other questions, please put them down underneath the video and stuff, and I will come back and answer because I know this was a lot. I know that even the topic trauma, even the topic of talking about a traumatic death, a traumatic anything in our lives can bring up those things. And we probably you might have shut off the video by that point, and you're going to come back when you're ready to re-listen to this. So if you are on the replay and you are really listening to this on the second half of this and understanding, please put your questions in underneath, and I will come back to it, and I will be able to answer anything or help you with anything or guide you in ways that I personally can as the declutter expert. The trauma part, I know people in my life who have expertise in certain areas. So on the next show, we're going to go a little lighter on the topic. We're going to talk about minimalism and materialism, finding a healthy balance. So that next episode is October 4th, which is a Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, EDT. For today, that is all. Take care.